been a long journey from when you first applied to ICORN already 2 years ago. Mohammad is a well-known translator, poet, and also defender of human rights, democracy, and freedom of expression in Syria. This better? Yes, okay. We've got a map of Syria up here today, and I'll point out something from that later when needed. But I'd like to say that a little bit about Mohammad. He's been working for democracy and human rights in Syria for almost 13 years. And he was part of a group that started the Syrian Committee to defend democratic freedoms. And as a result of this, already in 1991, when Khalid, who you just heard, was only a few weeks old, Mohammad was taken to prison and sentenced and was in prison in Syria for 9 years.
9 years, yeah.
Yeah, in 2000 he was let out. And Mohammad, it's another important thing to say as a little bit of background is that Mohammad is from Latakia, which is an area that is the base in many ways for the President Al-Assad's regime, and he has a lot of supporters traditionally in that area. Yeah. Just a little bit about this map. I know you can't read it, and some of you can't even see it, but it's from Wikipedia. But it was made on the 11th of September, so it's only 5 days old. And if you can see the pink areas and the red dots, that's the government-controlled areas. The gray is ISIS or IS and Daesh, different names. The green are the so-called rebel groups, and the yellow at the top are the Kurdish. There's also pockets of white and blue for the Al-Nusra Front. So that gives you sort of an outline. Damascus is down here, and Latakia is here on the coast, and you see Lebanon here and Turkey in the north. Having worked with democracy and human rights, trying to change the course of Syria, what was your position when the so-called Arab Spring and the first demonstration started in Syria in 2011?
First of all, I would like to thank all the staff in ICORN who helped me to come here, as well the Norwegian government and the Stavanger community for settling me here, and also all of you that came here to listen to us and to know some more about the Syrian crisis. Thank you. As for this, since we began our work to defend democratic freedom and human rights, we were about 10 people when we began it. But it was a great shock to the regime, to Hafez al-Assad, to the father, to the godfather, I call him the godfather. They imprisoned us immediately. 1 year and a half, we were all in prison. We were accused of treachery, getting money from Europe just to distort the face of Syria and corrupt the trust of the Syrian people with the regime and so on. Even when we did our time and everyone went out of prison, we weren't let safely. We were followed, we were under eyes, and every now and then we have calls, keep quiet. So we tried to keep quiet, but we couldn't. As you live, and all the Middle East, as you remember, was on fire all 2 recent decades. So you can't keep quiet, whether in Syria, in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Palestine. All these things affect us as a people of that area. And when the revolution broke out in Syria, it was a complete shock to the regime, who was ready to face it. As the Tunisian began, and then Egypt followed. The regime was thinking of how to suppress the revolution of the Syrian people. And he warned all the world around Syria. He said many times, Syria is not Egypt. Syria is not Tunisia. Syria is different. This was a message to the people and to the, let's say, all international and regional forces that may play part here and there. And then we would do something. We thought and we established what we called movement together, or MAN, to support the peaceful revolution of the Syrian people completely against the regime, but peacefully. We were against violence completely. We refused all violent actions, whether from the regime or from the opponents or the extremists as they would be known later. And these were very bothering for the regime, who also called us and arrested some of our friends, like one ICORN have got him 2 years ago, Ma'mun al-Jabari. He was arrested for this also, for being in Ma'an or Together movement. And also we were suppressed. All peaceful activists in Syria were unwelcomed.
So how do you get from that peaceful protest to this? How did we get to this that we see today?
Well, let's say we had to. Syrian, as all other suppressed people, had to manage everything. You should think. You should find a way out to manage and to do and to go outside or stay inside. When we were inside, we were targeted by the regime as opponents and by the shells and bombs of the terrorists who were clashing all cities. Just to say, no civilians in Syria, either with the regime or with us. If you are with us, come and take guns and shoot soldiers. And your brothers or families, don't worry. The regime says also, either with us or you are against us. Either you come and fight with us, or you may be killed and go away. So, both of them pushed us in those corners. So, Syrians have to find their way out. Everyone, or some groups, in that way or others. That was a very big plight for all Syrians, especially for families who have children. And for young people, university students in Syria, most of them trying to flee, to run away, to go outside. Why? Not because they want to continue their study in Europe or any other place only. They are fleeing the death because the regime will take them to the military service as it's a duty in Syria, and there they will die. And when they saw a lot of their friends dying just a few weeks or months after they had been taken to the military service, they thought of fleeing. Why? Because it isn't our war. We, the Syrians, began a revolution, not a war. But we were displaced by the regime and by regional and international forces who came to invest in the Syrian blood. It's really a black investment. We were displaced out, and now they are fighting not for the revolution. They are fighting not for Syria. They are fighting for special political, economical interests for all the parties. All of them are fighting. Some of them have the same targets or aims, and some have others. And here we are. We are lost between two or more than two fighting parties, and we have to leave our land to keep safe or to rescue our families and to ask people like you to refuse us.
How did the violence start? You have peaceful revolution, you have a government or a president who says that you are different.
Yeah. Well, when the revolution began, from the first week, the regime had a trick. He had some groups. We called them al-Mundassin or sneakers. Okay? Those people went out at the beginning of night or in evening, runs in the street, shoot fire, other groups follow them, and they frighten people. Oh, those are enemies. They came to corrupt Syria. So, leave the revolution, stay at your homes, and we do everything. That's one. The other thing, when people didn't, let's say, like that, and didn't stop their peaceful revolution, I know a person, I think is, if I am not mistaken, he is called Ayas Matar, something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. Yeah. Thank you. Ayas Matar was a peaceful activist. He used to lead demonstration with a bottle of water in hand and white flower in hand. All the demonstrators carried those, gave them to soldiers before they began their demonstration and their mottos or slogans or something like this. 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the regime couldn't endure him more. Then he was found killed. Okay? Other people who were fighting and who were shooting fire against soldiers were moving freely. And none of them was killed at that time. How was that? The regime at his first amnesty, the president of Syria, the so-called president, set free all criminals that were imprisoned in the same prison that I spent 9 years, said Naya. The most famous one is Zahran Aloush. Now he is a leader of a big group in Syria, and he is killing Syrians as well. The regime is throwing his burning and bombing barrels, and Zahran Aloush and his group shells or bomb Damascus, all areas in Damascus with shells and bombs as well. Zahran Aloush is killing the civilian people, the regime is killing the civilian people here and there. Why do the regime do that? Because when you fight a terrorist, it's easy and it's better for you. You kill him and say he is a terrorist, he has a gun, he's going to kill you, to kill your son, your daughter, your mother, your sister. You will accept it. But when he imprisons an activist, peaceful activist, some people will ask why. The international organization will ask why. Propaganda will focus or shed light on this. And this is very embarrassing for him. So, in this way of anarchism or confusion, he did all these things. He let out of his prison all criminals, and he knew well that all of the criminals are going out to make their groups as they were fighting in Iraq. And they also were leading extremist group in Iraq against the American army there. And he made them. So now we can say, for example, ISIS is an international made extremist group. Syria, Iraq, Iran, Israel, Turkey, America, all those gave her arms and money. Syria let them, the regime let them move freely, let them cross borders and smuggle guns and all the arms they need. So that's what's going on in Syria. The Syrian revolution was assassinated from the early days, we can say in cradle or in its infancy, because, and this is a very important point, a democratic country in the Middle East means a volcano, or let's say bugbear. Why? Syria is surrounded by Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey doesn't fear this because somehow it has a democratic regime or policy. All those countries, especially in the Gulf, the Arabian Gulf, especially the Arabian Gulf, fears everything called democracy or freedom. Okay, as all know, there are religious kingdoms, and they are very rich. They have a lot of money. They don't know what to do, but they know very well that democracy is the most dangerous thing that may threaten them. So what to do? How to stop this revolution from reaching them? And there, Bahrain, a small kingdom beside Saudi Arabia, some people tried to demonstrate peacefully. All the Arabian Gulf kingdoms sent their army to destroy or suppress that small group of people who demonstrated in Bahrain to ask for some freedom or equality. So it was the best solution to kill the revolution in Syria. How to kill it, how to destroy it, how to stop it. So extremists are ready, and religion is one of the most dangerous weapon you use in the Middle East, not all over the world, especially in the Middle East, and the Islamic culture prevail, and we drink it we take it with the milk from our mother's breast. We suck it with milk. So it's very easy to wake it, or to use it, or to push people on this. Those gods prevent, those gods permit, and so on. They send all extremists they know. They fund them with $1 billion. They send them the most brand new, modern pickups all over the world. We look at the pickups that Zaran Alouche or extremists have. Oh my God! It just came out of the factory. Who brought it? Who paid for it? Where did they bring all these guns and those, let's say, arms? It was clear that all the fighting parties there want to kill or to destroy, to assassinate the Syrian revolution. And also, we don't forget, for Syria, there are Israel as a historical enemy of Syria, and Syria as a historical enemy of Israel. And what is best for Israel than to see a regime destroying its country? Because had Syria and Israel been in war, Israel wouldn't have been able ever to destroy 5 or 3% of what the regime itself destroyed in his infrastructure and country.
Do you think that there was, I mean, you say that there was it's almost a planned way to hijack the revolution, to stop the democratic movements, to feed the extremists.
Yeah.
Was there a moment in time where there could have been interference from anybody, any outside or inside, who could have put this analysis counterfactual and that could have stopped it, that could have changed the course of this?
Yeah. Really, here we come to a very fantastic title. It's the role of stupidity and a chance in changing the course of history. Had we had a wise president, he would have written his name with the, let's say, golden water on the golden gate of history, just to say, my people are okay. We should change, we should do something better for them. All people in Syria were ready to follow him. But he was a very arrogant person or president and thought that he can suppress this revolution as his father did in 1982 with Muslim brothers. He thought there are Muslim brothers, some gangs here and there. But in Syria, 2011, sorry, it was a revolution of people who had endured a lot, tolerated a lot with the regime, but the glass was full and no place to any more drop in it, so it flooded and everything broke out. Some friends of the regime tried to play the trick. Erdogan, as Turkey Prime Minister, was the personal friends of Bashar al-Assad. And he asked him, advised him, come to tell you a secret. Take those Muslim brothers and put them in the government and all the people will keep silent. But this wasn't true, because whenever we have Muslim brothers, as we saw in Egypt, as we saw in Tunis, as we saw in Algeria, as we have been seeing in Iraq, whenever religion comes to politics, everything will corrupt. Religion will be corrupted more than it is, and policy will be spoiled completely. So, Russia didn't do anything. Russia, her eyes were on America. Her eyes were Russia and Iran. So, all those want things to be settled down, but they couldn't find a way out because the regime was very stubborn and thought that he is strong enough to defeat his people. And when a regime thinks of defeating his people, we'll see the results that we have now in Syria. This is the problem.
Today we heard on the Norwegian news that there is Russia is moving in a way, in Syria with advisors and with some equipment and so on. And to Russia there is very important naval bases on the coast of Syria. That's their only port directly to the Mediterranean Sea. What do you think of this game, if I can call it that Russia is playing now with Bashar al-Assad? Is it only in, how is that playing out inside Syria, and what will happen with this interference from Russia?
As you see, the grey piece on this map of Syria is the largest piece. The regime left all these places, cities, or all these areas from Syria and withdraw to the most important part of it, that is the coastal part and the most important part of Syria. And here I came from Latakia here, and here in Tartus, Russia has a naval bases, the most important Russian naval bases in the Mediterranean, and the only one, and that's why it's very important. So, why did the regime left that area? Because at that time, one of the most common solution was partition Syria between three governments: the regime, ISIS, and other groups with Turkey under the patronage of Turkey and so on. That was the scheme. But it seemed that the regime will take all these areas, nothing important left. So they decided to change the game. When they changed the game, they began a new session of war, and it was very fierce. Also, the regime did well, as the extremists did well, but not in all, or let's say as unequal. So now there's another scheme for Syria. It seems that they are going to destroy all infrastructure and all the countries so that they can either partitioned it more easier, or they just reconstructed it and leave it for themselves. Of course, investments, projects are ready. Even President himself spoke about 2.5 months ago, spoke about reconstruction projects. They are doing, he and his group is planning reconstructing projects in Syria. Just imagine this. Corrupt the country and reconstruct it. And you are a president, not a criminal. This is a discrepancy. Those are extremists, mercenaries, criminals, we know. But you are a president. How it comes, a president and criminal and something like this. See? What is going on now is just accumulating weapons, accumulating all the necessary tools for the new session of war in Syria. And again, this isn't for the Syrian people or the Syrian revolution. This is for their own interest. America, Russia, Iran, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia. All those are playing with our blood and history. What a pity.
Let's talk a little bit about the refugee situation, because as I said to start with, you applied to come out of Syria already in 2013, and I think that's when most people fled the country actually, and took up a miserable life in refugee camps in Turkey and in Jordan and in Lebanon. But there are millions also of displaced people inside Syria. Can you talk a little bit about how they are moving and where they are?
Well, as a matter of fact, not all Syrians could or can leave Syria. Some don't have money. Some, even if they have money, don't have the way. They don't know where to go. Some have big families and so on. So what to do? And some people, by the way, who are rich, who were in a twin with the bureaucracy in the regime, they just displaced from this city to another city and run again or refresh their industries or business or something like this. But people in Syria were displaced from place to place. When the battle is here, they run away to that place. When it arrives there, they either come back or they go to another one place because they have no choice. As for me, since I was really threatened, I sought refugee here and I worked on it and so on. Some people like me could run away, but all other people couldn't because they don't have the way or a method. And here also, there was a very, let's say, dirty trick that the Syrian got. They knew that later, some of them, Turkey, Jordan. Why did they take all those Syrian refugees even before the war began to be very dangerous for all Syrians? Turkey built the camps for refugees before refugees began to flow to them. And I was in Latakia and I know more than one person who was paid million Syrian pounds to go out to the camp of refugees in Turkey. One of them took it and didn't go. Some people went to the camp because they were threatened really. They were being bombed by the regime and they were being followed and their sons, daughters, fathers were killed. Yes, those people fled away to the refugee camp. But there was another trick. They want more people just to have the right to make that safe area and non-flying area, so that they push the regime and in the corner to reconcile with them and to do as well as they want. by the way, the regime saw that. And instead of stopping his people and saying or saving them or rescuing them or giving them another solution, he said, go, push on them. I want you to go out. You go out, I leave the extremists get you places and houses. See, one says, come to me, and the other says, yes, you want to go? Okay, extremist will take your house, go. And then I can trick with this extremist. And that was just one scene of the displacement inside Syria. Other people were displaced to the coastal cities, found some works, and some slept in streets who didn't find anything or anyone to save them. Some people, slept in the entrance of blocks, buildings, and so on, when there is nobody to take them, because the cities were full. And not every family can take a refugee. Some families can't make their daily bread. Economic is at the ground. All people suffers from lack, no money, no business, and so on. And that was left as it is. For example, refugees, even inside Syria, have nothing sometimes, unless they could take it by themselves or to do something. Outside Syria, as I said, young people are fleeing the death, and some families trying to go out when they can and may. And this is up to the region or countries they can reach. And you know that a lot of them died in sea, some were lost in forests, some nobody knows anything about them. And the last picture of that Syrian Kurdish boy on the sea that shocked all the world. Really, it's a shocking picture or photo. But what we have seen, what all Syrians have seen, is more shocking than that picture. And when I say this, I say it just to let you know that whatever the Syrians do, even if all Syrians left Syria and sought refugees, they are right. When you see, of course, we are blamed partially. We should have done something as a whole, a people. For example, I don't blame myself, since I did all that I can since I was 18 years old, young man. I did all that I can to do my role as well as I can in defending my country, democratic freedom, and everything. But as a people, as a whole, we should have done more. Now, here we are. People are dying, are being killed for nothing. They don't have any benefit in that or in this war. Strangers are fighting on our land. This is a problem.
Is there any, do you see any solution? Do you see Bashar al-Assad going into negotiations? Do you see any pressure that can be made on any of these groups fighting?
Of course, there's always solution. Especially when in war and policies, there's always solution. But what matters is when that solution comes. When it comes after destroying the whole country, or killing and displacing half of the population or more, then what's the solution? For example, like Iraq, what's the solution in Iraq now? Iraq is destroyed country. We are a new copy of Iran. But of course, there's a solution. If the world, the modern world, if European did more than they do, and in another way, European countries taking refugees, thanks to oil, European countries who took refugees, and even those who couldn't take refugees. But what European can do, and that's more important, is just to make more press on America, Russia, and to get a better solution to stop this war. For example, as we always said, dry out the sources of weapons that is sent to Syria, and things will be better. Dry up weapon sources and press for political solution. Then we can get that solution. And even Al-Assad negotiated a lot of those groups, but he never negotiated a peaceful activist. One of the most important peaceful activists who was coming from China, Abdulaziz Al-Khayyar, he disappeared at a barrier in the middle of Damascus. That barrier, military barrier, is so-called to protect citizens from extremists and enemies. That barrier that protects me from enemies, my friend, another activist disappeared there, and nobody knows where is he now. He was one of the brilliant, peaceful activists in Syria. It was a threat to the regime, as I said. Me, Mohammad Habeeb, I'm not that big person or strict person, or I'm normal, like any one of you. But I was a threat to the regime. Because I speak this way, you listen to, I think this way, I don't let him trick me and my people around me. I did a lot as I could to just make people understand what's going on or make groups to change something. These or those peaceful activists threaten the regime more than any other extremist all over the world. They said clearly, an extremist shot a bullet, this kills one. But your word corrupts a community by itself. You stay inside and there's no amnesty for you. We all did our time in the prison, 9 years, 15 years, 16, 18, and only because saying we want democratic freedoms. We want to work, only let us work as parties inside society. No way.
What about now? Now you are here. How are you going to continue your work? What are your plans? And just this is the last question before we're going to take 2 or 3 questions from the audience as well.
Right. As for my country, I'll be in contact with all the people I left there, discuss, give all ideas I can, do whatever I can here, or what I can do with other groups in Europe, with someone like Ayas or others whom I know, to see what we can or how we can help the Syrian people. As here in Norway and in Stavanger, this is my new hometown. Wherever I live in peace and love and freedom, this is my real homeland. I left my cradle. Let's say I left my mother's bosom there. But I think a man can have 2 mothers, a man can have 2 sons, 2 daughters, and he can love them both equally. Now, here, I love Stavanger as well as I loved and still love my home city, Latakia. I try to be a good citizen. I have a lot of plans. One of them is to learn Norwegian very well and to make a cultural bridge between Norwegian and Arabic culture, and see how to bring my young daughter, how to help my young son to get in university and continue and be also a good citizen and better than his father. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have time for two, I think, quick questions. There's a microphone in the back, there's one here. Please wait for the microphone, and if you don't want to pose, hvis du vil snakke på norsk, så kan du gjøre det.
I can talk in English. My name is Sabat Chizon. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Ahlan bik. Welcome.
I have one question.
Yeah.
You talk very much about the peaceful activities and democracy movement inside Syria. What about the Kurdish movement? Is it possible that at that time, united with the peaceful democratic movement in Kurdish, that it will make your movement stronger? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Well, this is one of troublesome point in Syria. When I speak about Syria, I speak about Kurdish, about all other ethnics in Syria. When I look at Syrians, they are all Syrians. Kurdish can ask, can struggle for some special rights inside Syria. In prison and in our movement and the first committees for democratic freedom, we had 2 Kurdish in it. And even in the last one, after the revolution, we had a lot of Kurdish people and friends in it. So, in Syria, we don't look at ourselves as ethnics or sects. The regime sees us sects and ethnic. In Syria, we consider there are 2 parties or 2 sects, 2 religions, if it's taken as a differentiating between sects and religion, the regime and the people. I was and am still one of the people. I'm in the sect of people. All people in Syria, all Syrian. You say I'm Kurdish, it's okay. You say I have right, I say it's okay, you're right, and I support you as an ethnic in Syria wants to get her rights, her special rights in Syria, and let's say self-government in a different city or area where they live. Okay, you suffered a lot from the regime, I know, and I support you, but as a Syrian, as a part of Syrian people, Kurdish and other ethnics are all the same as for me and the peaceful activists and groups that I worked and I shared there in Syria, and I'm still.
One more question? And we have a lot of young students, so maybe one of them wants to ask a question. It's one in the back. Yeah.
Is it true that one of the...
Could you stand up? Is
it true that one of the main problems of the conflict is the Sunni-Shia split in the countries, and that many of the countries have been oppressing either of the parts of Islam? Both Sunni and Shia have been oppressed in both Iraq and Syria.
I got only Sunni and Shia, but I didn't get what definitely you want. Please repeat your question. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Is it true that one of the main reasons of the conflict happening is the Sunni-Shia split?
Okay, good. Now I got it. Well, look. I'll go back just to incident 2006 when Hezbollah Shia, okay, got in war with Israel. Most of his people were displaced to Syria. You know where they go or they went? They went to Sunnis area and lived there. Hassan Nasrallah's photo was in most of the Sunnis' house in Latakia and cafes, and I saw it by those eyes. Sunni and Shia in Syria as well as over the world, here and there. Christian, Roman, Orthodox, Catholic. Is this a way to kill each other? Is it enough nowadays? Back in history, it was a cause, okay? Maybe. And is it a cause today? I don't think so. What happened in Syria and in all the Middle East, that, as I mentioned, they used religion just as tools to split people, to split groups of people. You are Sunni, you are Shia, you are Alawi, you are so and so, and you are Christian. Well, where are you going? You should keep away. Come, we are the regime, we can save you. But if you go, Muslim, Sunni, and extremists will kill you or will take taxes. And they did it. In Raqqa, they imposed taxes on Christian people. You stay here, you pay taxes, and you live freely. But sometimes you should put veils, okay? But generally, don't think, or let me say, don't let other mistake you and let you know or tell you that Sunni and Shia was the cause of the split between them was the cause of the war. No. They were together in the demonstration and they were handing the same slogans and they shouted the same, for example, demonstrators, and they say, freedom, God, Syria, and only. Muslims, Sunni, Shia, Alawi, Christians, all ethnics wanted this, one voice. Later on, the regime played on it and split and did all what he could just to say, you are Alawi, you are Sunni, you are Shia, you are Christian, and every one of you should come and I save them here and there and play that game. That is.
Okay, I think we say thank you very much to Mohammed.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tusen takk til alle dere som kom, og dette var det første voksenarrangementet på kapittel. Jeg håper dere får et strålende kapittel i neste dag.